If you become the kind of person that in every friendship, in every relationship, in every interaction that you have, you bring value to that person, life completely changes.
Hello and welcome to the Wholesale Made Easy podcast, where we believe selling on Amazon shouldn't be hard, and we're going to prove it. My name is Dylan Carter, and I'm one of the co-founders at VinDrive, a tool that helps Amazon wholesale sellers streamline their businesses, stay organized, and land more profitable accounts. I'm sitting down with other successful wholesale sellers, and together we're sharing lessons learned and what it really takes to succeed with wholesale. Today's guest is a listener favorite, Jenna Jackson. Jenna has been selling on Amazon since November 2017. Like most of us, she started with retail and online arbitrage and then transitioned into wholesale mid-2018. She's grown her business 3 times the size it was when I last interviewed her on the podcast. In this episode, Jenna shares her mental breakthroughs, new growth systems, and how she consistently overcomes obstacles while growing her wholesale Amazon business. All right, so it's been how long ago did we do the Facebook Live? I feel like it's been a year. Has it been that long? I don't know.
At least a few months. Someone said that in the last video I said my goal was I was trying to hit 10K. And 10K I want to say was 4 or 5 months ago. So
that's awesome. I feel like it's been so long since we did that, but so much has changed. We've launched Aura. I remember being in Amherst in Massachusetts talking with you on the phone about everything because you're gracious enough to let us do some testing with your account and hearing your plans for everything, you scaling out. You're putting up some numbers now.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
I see the smile. I like the smile that's coming out because of that. Like, all right, so you were at 10K a month, right?
I was just below, yeah.
Just below. Okay. Where are you at now per month?
So December we did 32. Okay. And January we finished out just over 30. So we're hoping to
in Q1.
In Q1, yep.
In Q1. I like it. Usually it's like an immediate downturn.
Yeah.
It's like, well, great Q4.
It dropped a little bit. It did drop a little bit.
Yeah, $2,000. Oh no.
Incredibly grateful to have some wholesale products that's awesome. Just sell all year round. And it's so nice because last year at this time, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers compared to last year and I had this was like my second month into Amazon and I had this huge upswing in December, which I know a lot of Amazon sellers have is they crush it in Q4 and then Q1 they get, maybe a week or two of the gift card momentum and then the sales just tank. And I'm so grateful to have wholesale because they can just sell you around. It's so nice.
And it's scary too. I remember going through my first Q4. I think at that time I had not gone into wholesale. I was just doing like RA and a bit of OA. And it was great. It was really cool. Somehow I just broke even, so that sucked, but it was cool to see numbers. And yeah, Q1's January, I was like, where's all the sales? Where are the people? And I think that's why I'm such a stickler now for I don't care about seasonal items. I think they're supplemental, right? I think they're great and they have their own place.
Sing on the cake.
Yeah, like you need, whether you want to call them evergreen products, just yearly products, right? You know that this month, 3 months from now, a year from now, it's all good. And if they're doing good in January, in Q1, just imagine how great they're going to do in Q4. That's what I like, right? You're kind of setting up Q4 all year. But you've changed a lot. Because I remember, when you first joined the Facebook group and we're doing the Facebook Live and you're like, wait, 10 people a day or 10 suppliers a day, right? But what was cool is how you approached that and you immediately adjusted. You didn't just say, that's a lot, right? It didn't seem like, at least from my perspective, that you heard that number and were daunted by it. You were more so, okay, that's what it is. I mean, I thought it was 10 a week. It's 10 a day. Okay, that's cool. But you started doing it.
Can I just tell you the mindset shift that I've had since I remember that conversation with you? And I've had such a mindset shift because, and this is something that I think your listeners need to know, is this Amazon business, my goodness, does it throw some obstacles your way? I mean, my goodness. And in any business that you start, it is going to throw some obstacles your way. And I used to try something dip my toe in, then, oh, that didn't work. Yeah, maybe I'll try something else. No, plow through the obstacles. Like, I remember submitting an invoice. You submit an invoice to get ungated in Amazon, and you do exactly what it says. Every single thing perfect. And they reject it, and you go, oh, must be you can't actually get ungated. Must be this doesn't work.
Right.
No, submit it again.
And again, and again.
You know, and I'll say, if you don't follow Shawn Michael and Amazon FBA Rockstars, you need to follow that group, because one thing that I learned from him is you may need to submit something 15, 20 times to Amazon before it gets in the right hands of the right person and it goes right through, and you go, oh, awesome. So my mindset, Dylan, has changed completely. When something that's selling on Amazon is hard, I get excited.
I'm so glad you get that.
So it took me 9 months to make that shift. But when I hit a hurdle, when a supplier says no, under circumstances, are we selling to Amazon sellers, I go, yes, because I know that the 19 people that call them behind me are going to go, oh, darn, I guess move on to the next one. And I'm going to go, good for you. You get it. Good for you, supplier A, because you have restricted it and you're in control of who's selling your products, and you understand the game. You can't just have 11 sellers on a listing, because 9 of them are going to mess this up. Because here's what happens, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that wrong, and then they're going to do this and then they're going to do that, and then you're in the face of all kinds of problems. And I will tell you that when a supplier tells you, sorry, we already have enough Amazon sellers, what they're saying is, we freaking hate the Amazon sellers that we have because they're screwing things up and we don't want any more. But if you'll come in and you'll solve the problems and you'll show them, I understand. There's not one supplier out there that has Amazon FBA sellers, third-party sellers selling their product, and is completely happy with all of them. Not one that I've spoken to. Not one. They all are looking for somebody really good. And if you can use that phone call and the subsequent phone calls and the follow-up emails to show, I understand this business, I'm going to help you optimize your listings, and let's talk about bundling, and let's talk about how the fact that when I read through the reviews of your product, everybody's complaining about how it's packaged, because they get it and the stuff, they open it up and the glitter flies out and it's all over the place. So let's talk about the packaging. And what if we were to do this? And you come to them with some suggestions and they go, oh my gosh, this girl gets it. Like, that's who I want selling my product. All of a sudden the whole game changes, Dylan.
And you haven't asked for anything either. That's the thing that I'm pulling the most from this. And it's providing value without expectations. I think too many sellers, and me included getting started, I think everybody has to go through this mental shift of, but I'm offering them my money. Why isn't that enough? I can't answer that for you, other than saying that everybody has something. Everybody has more money than you or less money than you, period, right? There's always somebody who you can say, hey, yeah, but I'm gonna give you $2,000 a month. Cool. Somebody's gonna come up and say, I can give you 20. It doesn't matter, right? You transferring funds to them is not enough value. It's too short term. It really is. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, even your 20 grand, it's not all of it. It doesn't make you a VIP, right? So if you know that you're not quote unquote special, it helps you basically be a top performer. And so Chris Hadfield was a Canadian astronaut, and he wrote a book. It's got a fantastic book, but he talks a lot about how top performers are not ones. They're not trying to be, so you're either a 0 or 1, right? So if you're trying to be a 1, that means you're trying to be a top performer in every single thing you do. You know you're the best. You're being the best, right? It's in how you act and in what you do. But when you act like a 0, you are actually a 1, because you're not calling them saying, I'm the best thing that's ever lived, I'm going to change the whole. No, that's not what it's about. You miss everything, because now it's all about you. But when you approach it being a 0, when you approach it from a value standpoint, now it's not about you, right? Because that whole conversation that you had was not, yeah, but I need to sell your stuff. It's no, hey, here's some awesome stuff we could do. And you're getting excited about their brand. And if you're talking to a founder, if you're talking to somebody who has stake in the brand, that shows more than you saying how much money you have. And it depends.
And I don't even tell them on the phone. I don't even tell them I want to sell your product. What I do is I go through listings and I figure out where the holes are. I figure out where the gaps are because so many people are just winging it on Amazon. They don't know how to optimize a listing. And I'll tell you, I've spent hours and hours and hours watching YouTube videos on how to optimize listings and how to bundle products together. And there are probably people listening saying, well, I don't know how to optimize products. Go learn it. Go learn it. Go learn it for free.
Yep.
And when you call your supplier, then you can say, okay, well, you're made in the USA, but you don't have that as a picture on your thing. And you need to go through and you need to add in these keywords because this is what everybody's talking about in the reviews. And you need to have 4 more pictures on your listing. Why do you only have 3 pictures on there? Well, we didn't do it. Some other third-party seller created a listing. Okay, well, now you have a professional coming in saying, here's what's missing. And you go through and you literally give them 6 or 7 ideas. And you say, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to email you all these ideas and I'm going to have a follow-up call with you because we're going to do it. And they're just like blown away. Like they don't even know what to do. And they say, well, how do you make these changes? And I say, well, I do need to be one of the sellers on your listing in order to be able to make these changes. So what we do is we typically do a test buy, and I just go right through the process. And I explain the whole thing. I send them my resale certificate right there in that first email so they know I'm legit. They're not wondering. And I just make it a streamlined process. This is how it goes. I jump on the listing. I'm one of your sellers. I'm gonna have it sent to my house. We're going to package up, send it out. And you're not going to have to worry about it. I have one guy that their third-party seller ran out of inventory 3 weeks before Christmas. Like,
bad planning.
What? And he had one. He narrowed it down so that he had just one seller. And I'm like, listen. And I had already calculated ahead of time how much revenue he lost, how much profit. He's like, don't rub it in. I know. So when you come at it from that perspective, there is no phone approach. There is no scripted phone pitch you give to them. You call them, and it takes time. You got to spend time researching that brand, but you don't have to call as many people when you're having that level of conversation. And if you start the conversation with someone that you're talking about the brand and you're talking about ways to add value and how to increase your sales on Amazon, and you can tell it's going right over their head, you're not talking to the right person. You need to call back and you need to say, who can I talk to that might be, more marketing focused and really interested in building the brand? Who is that person? And you'll know if it's them or not, instantly. And then you call back and you talk to that person. Hey, so-and-so said I really need to kind of strategize with you because I've got some good ideas on how we can brand. Almost view yourself as though you already work for them as a director of marketing and you're just trying to further along the process because they don't have somebody doing this. So why don't they have us?
Did you find that the first handful of those conversations you had, either when you started using that strategy or before you started using it, was that scary? Because I know you have some experience with sales. Like, was it a daunting task for you to just pick up the phone?
It wasn't, and let me tell you why. Because it was scary for me when I didn't have a list. Because I knew that I was just going there. I felt like a dog begging for his dinner. But when I did this, I knew I was calling them and I had value to give them. And I've decided ahead of time that even if they say we're not taking Amazon sellers, I don't even want to have this conversation. I already did the work to come up with all these value points. So I'm going to tell you all my 7 bullet points, and I'll email them to you as well because I already did the work for them. And I'm going to bring you value. I know for a fact that you're going to get value out of this phone call. Whether you shoot me down or you don't, you're going to get some, you're going to learn some information on this call. And for that reason, the nerves dropped.
I get that because your perspective of the conversation changes. And I can hear people right now asking, well, what if they never call me back and they make their listing better because of all the work that I did? So what? Right? I mean, it's good karma, right?
Here's the thing. If you become the kind of person that in every friendship, in every relationship, in every interaction that you have, you bring value to that person, life completely changes. Your relationship changes. If you're not focused on me and you're focused on we, what can we do together? How can we move to the next level? If you just become that kind of a person, you're focused on that, then you don't care if you just take my information and run with it. And I will also tell you that most of these suppliers that you call, they can write down the 7 bullet points. They don't even know how to submit a ticket to get the changes done.
Right.
So they're probably not going to do it anyway. But if they do, good for them. Yeah. Right. I did my part. I know that I'm the kind of person that I'm giving, and I'm going to bring you value, and what you choose to do with it, that's on you. Right. If you donate money to a homeless man, it's on him. You did the right thing. It's on him, whether he goes and buys booze or he buys food. Right. Yeah. It's on him. But I'm going to do my part. I'm going to treat him the way I would want to be treated, and I'm going to bring value up front.
I think it's your expectations too, where you're not expecting or anchoring the entire view of your emotional outcome of that conversation on, did I get the account or not? It's less about that. And the more conversations I have with other sellers, with even people just being on podcasts, where success comes from a longer perspective of time. So, and you've heard me say this all the time, right? Don't be a quote unquote flipper, be a business owner. And don't just think about sales next month, think about sales 2 years down the road. It's different when, you know, you might, and we've had these conversations one-on-one where you've had to work with somebody for 3+ months for them to finally be like, hey, let's have a conversation about it. But the whole time you got nothing, but you kept giving and giving and giving. And guess what? When they changed their mind or they wanted to have that conversation, you were number one in line. Whereas other sellers, they're like, they heard a no and said, okay, bye, I'm going on to my next person on my list. I think you should know when a hard no is a hard no, and when it's just not a good fit for you. But when you know it is, and it's just a little hurdle, it's okay to overcome that hurdle. So you went through a lot of shifts from a strategic, from a mental, from a perspective standpoint, but then you really started to grow and focus on systems. So walk me through like the mechanics of what's changed too for the business, because I know a lot's changed because we have conversations and it gets me pumped.
Yeah, big time. So when sales started, once I got to, I'd say probably 15K in sales a month, I bought one of Shawn Michaels' classes, and in that class he took his camera and toured his garage, and he showed, this is where my assistant preps the items, this is where they weigh them, this is where they box them, and I went, oh my gosh, like, number one, my living room's overrun with every product, and I'm sure there are people listening to this going, oh my gosh, my whole apartment has been taken over by Amazon. That was me. And so we had a garage outside, and we moved everything out there, and I have 2 part-time assistants, and I have 1 full-time assistant that, she's incredible, by the way. Don't ever think that you are so good at this position, that selling on Amazon, that you're not replaceable, because I will tell you that I feel like I hired Lynn to be my, to go to grocery stores or to go to Target or go to Walmart or wherever and find products that I could flip for profit. And that's all I intended her to be. And I'm training her, little by little. And she's now to the point where I can legitimately, confidently say she is better than me at my job. She picks up my slack. She picks up where I'm very big visionary. I've got all the big ideas, and she is very detailed. I am not detailed at all. And she is down to every last little detail. And so I've hired Lynn, and I will tell you that she treats my business like it's her business. And I didn't think that was going to be possible, but when you train them the right way and you give them the freedom to start making decisions and to really run with ideas, it's amazing what you can do. And so now I have 2 people that prep my items, that box them up as needed. And they're very part-time. So it's not like 2 part-time people equals 1 full-time person. It's not the case. But because I have this in place, I went home for Thanksgiving and I went home for Christmas, and my business didn't miss a beat, Dylan. I mean, I'm sitting there on my mom's couch, waiting for the turkey to come out, and I'm just watching, notifications of boxes that are getting sent out, and Amazon's receiving my inventory, part of me felt a little bit like I'm not really needed anymore, but it's an amazing feeling because I can scale this, Dylan. Yeah. Whereas if I didn't have them, I was at my ceiling. That was it. Yep. And that was my life. Now I'm now sitting here. It was to the point where every night my husband and I would sit down and we watch our TV shows, and we're both prepping while we're watching our TV shows, which is fine when it's smaller scale. But if you're going to go bigger, it's time to start delegating. And that book that we talked about, the 4-hour work week. Oh my gosh, it's incredible when you delegate, the freedom that you can get. And I also, here's a little tip. Nobody ever told it to me, so I'll just say it. It's smart pickup. Have you ever heard of smart pickup with UPS?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how did I not know that? I used to just load up my truck every night.
No.
Yes. And smart pickup is like, I don't know what the price is. I got in at a promo.
It's was not bad.
Free. Yeah, it's like $12 or $12 a week or something, like $12 a month.
If that, yeah.
It's very inexpensive. And they literally just drive by your house. You schedule a pickup the night before, and they come and they just pick up your boxes, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. So if you're not doing UPS smart pickup, you need to. Go on and Google it. I don't have a link for anything. I don't know. Just go.
And they'll roll up to your driveway, to your garage, and be like, all right, let's go. And what's cool is it can typically be the same person. And so you can end up building like a good relationship with your pickup person. And some of them are willing to go above and beyond a little bit and be like, hey, can you come back in 3 hours? I have something big coming. They'll be like, yeah, I can swing back through. I got you. I did that mainly when I was doing RAOA, because same thing. Like, I had this little Tacoma truck. I'm like, there's only so many boxes I can fit in this thing. I have like the net. I'm like strapping these down. I was like, okay, it rains in Florida randomly. This is not safe. And I just, somebody mentioned that in a Facebook group, and I would batch it. So like I would ship like Tuesdays and Thursdays, or maybe it was Monday and Friday. I think it was Monday and Fridays. And I would pre-schedule it like a month out. Just every Monday show up, every Friday show up. I don't care. I will have something for you. And it saves so much time. I don't have to walk through the small doors with these 50-pound boxes looking like an idiot. I'm like, I got 4 more. So that's cool. So you started looking at your business way different in terms of the E-Myth Revisited kind of lingo. You went from the technician to the manager, but now you're shifting from the manager to the entrepreneur, which is a big difference, because like you said, you have this moment of, am I not needed in my business? But the key word there is in. I don't think you should be needed in your business.
I'm needed to work on my business.
And you have to kind of shift perspective again. I find myself saying shift perspective far more than I anticipated in my life, but it's a commonality apparently, where is your business there to support you and what you want, or the other way around? You have to think back to why you started this, right? So you have to say, or when you're asking the question, does my business need me? For you to say no is a good thing. It's uncomfortable because it's like, what does this mean? Right now it's all philosophical. Like, what do I do now? Because you're so used to that hustle, right? Of like day to day, I got to keep making this happen. But then when somebody else starts to do that, it's crazy. When you first made that hire or brought somebody on and started delegating, was that uncomfortable or like scary?
Yes.
Right. Walk me through that. Like how? Today's episode is brought to you by GoAura.com, our AI-based repricing tool. If you're ready to take your sales to the next level, repricing is the way to go. No more manually adjusting your prices each day. Let our AI actually do the heavy lifting for you. And if you're sick of repricing tools dropping their activity and leaving you in the dark, Aura can help. With smart repricing strategies, an optimized platform, and instant repricing, Aura both reprices faster and holds the buy box for 65% more time than competing repricers. If you're ready to experience repricing reimagined, head over to GoAura.com to start your 14-day free trial.
Yeah, so what I did, I started actually just going through the stores one by one, scanning items with Lynn, and she really grasped on quickly. And then I decided, you know what, I really want her to understand what it takes to go into prepping. I don't want her to be prepping shipments, but I want her to know what the process is and what how it goes, and checking expiration dates and this and that, how labeling goes. So I had her, I taught her how to prepare a couple shipments, and she just she soaked it up like a sponge. And then, she's at the store and she's, oh, I scanned this and it looks like a good buy. What do you think? I'm like, yeah. So Lynn actually has a credit card in my name that she's authorized to use at any time. Yeah. And I check it, and I have 100% trust in her because she gets my business. And then now, I mean, I'm teaching her things like PPC. I'm teaching her Restock Pro. I'm teaching her how to, you know, load things into Aura, how to create listings and create bundle. And it's, you just give them a little bit at a time and then let them master it, and then give a little bit more and let them master it, and give them a little bit more and let them master it. And it's so freeing. But yeah. Yes, at first it was like, well, what if she messes something up? What if she sends in? And I'll tell you that, you know, my staff, we've messed up a couple of things. And you know what else? When I started, I messed up a couple of things. And I'll tell you, if I go out there and I prep some items, I mess up a couple of things. It doesn't matter if it's me or them, but it's Amazon and you can bounce back from anything. So, you know I do what I can to mitigate risk, and I would say they're more vigilant than I am about, you know, this one has the corner bent, or should we send it in or should we not? And, you know, when you get good people, you can really free yourself.
Yeah, I think what's important about that too is that you didn't just open up your whole business and say you have free reign. No, you started with something small. You trained, you spent the time, you invested the time. And as that person started to show promise, you said, hey, let's graduate you to another task. You're doing well with that. Can you handle more? Let's go from there. Versus what I feel like a lot of people who are not exposed to hiring or delegating, or even if it's a virtual assistant, they're like, yeah, I just don't trust people. Well, you shouldn't just naturally trust people, but you have to give up some trust, an appropriate amount of trust to do that. But you still have to train people. You can't just hire and say, go prep. It's not how it works, right? So, but if that person that you hired had not done so well, she wouldn't be doing what she's doing now. She wouldn't have a card, you know, with your name on it. but it took her time to get there. But something else important that you said is that most things are reversible. So the risk, the inherent assumed risk that you take on, really, when you think about it, isn't as high as you think it is. Right? So when you do the math, when you say, okay, what could possibly go wrong, worst case scenario? They send it in wrong. Okay, what does that mean? Right? Second order thinking. What happens next? Is that really that bad? No, just a minor inconvenience, but we learn from it. You know, Dylan's lost $2,000 on inventory because of bad purchase. Yeah, like it's gonna happen, but that's okay.
And can I speak to that a little bit? Because I had a point where I was looking at some of the money that I had spent on products that were bad buys. Let's just put it out there. This is not all unicorns and rainbows. Like, I have messed up some stuff. I started selling books. I bought thousands of books, and I was selling them new, and I was excited. I was buying them from retail. I was so excited. And then I found out you're not allowed to sell books new unless you're buying them from the publisher. And right. I'm like, what did you do, Jenna? And so then I had to sell them all as used like new. And I'll tell you, Dylan, I took a bath. I lost so much money, so much money, because I thought when I signed up for this, and your listeners need to know this too, you need to read the terms of service. When I signed up for my Amazon seller account, I thought terms of service are like the Apple terms of service that you just, click, and you don't read it. You just blindly. No, you need to read the terms of service, because there's stuff hidden in there that you didn't know that you find out later that could have suspended your account. And Lord, thank you that I did not get my account suspended, because I caught it in time, but I lost a lot of money, Dylan. I lost a lot of money. And a lot of people in that instance would have gone, must be this Amazon thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
Must be I need to bail. Must be it's not true. But the reality is, I got an education, Dylan. I learned.
You pay the tuition. Yep.
And I was having a conversation with my husband, and I said, look at, and I added up all the money that we've lost and that we've taken a bath on. And I said, now we got to pay this off. And he said, babe, so do you understand people go to college for 4 years at $30,000 a year? They spend $120,000 to learn stuff, and look at the small amount that you lost, but look at where you are now. Look at what you know now. And I'm like, okay, when you put it in that perspective, it totally changes things. So when we talk about the obstacles and the reasons, there are so many hundreds of thousands of people that are selling on Amazon, and most of them aren't going to make it past a year. They're all going to quit. The majority of these sellers are going to quit. They're going to quit because either they lost money on this one thing, or they're going to quit because they submitted an invoice to get ungated and it didn't go through the first time, or because they, somebody got on there and nickel and dimed them down to nothing and they lost some money on it. That's going to happen. But how are you going to react to that? Are you going to say, oh, must be this Amazon thing doesn't work, I'm done, I'm going to go back to my, whatever job? Or am I going to say, okay, well, I see all these other people that are selling millions of dollars on Amazon, they figured it out. And that's where mine came from, is I saw one of those gurus that, he's got the fancy sports car and he's got, the flashy everything. He's got the hot girl under his arm and this and that. And, he was selling millions of dollars on Amazon. And I listened to him speak, and his grammar was all messed up. When he typed stuff out and he's responding to people's comments, like, sometimes they didn't even make sense. Like,
are you talking about me, Jenna?
I was you, Dylan. No, it was one of these so-called gurus. And I looked at him and I thought, he is not better than me.
Yep.
He is not better than me. He just didn't quit.
Yep.
He just had more grit than all these other sellers. And so my advice is if you will have more grit and you will just, there are people that these obstacles come through them. They're standing like they're on a sidewalk and they see this box in front of them and they see this box over here, and they'll jump over this obstacle and they'll walk around this other obstacle and they'll kind of go under this obstacle and they'll figure out how to get through the obstacles. And there are people that just plow through and go, move, I'll handle this, and they just plow through, right? Like, those are the people that are going to be your $1 million sellers.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to have something bad happen. They're not afraid to lose money on something. They just don't quit. And so that's my advice, is this Amazon thing works if you just don't quit.
Do you find that you still struggle with the grit side of it at times? Because it's not just once you hit this threshold that everything's good, you're living on the beach, you're chilling, traveling, doing your thing, you're still working, And at least just speaking for myself, there's still times where you're like, man, we're still in that hustle phase. Like, this is rough.
I am 100% still in the hustle phase. I was just out there prepping for like an hour this morning. So yeah, I'm still in the hustle phase. I'm still in because I'm in the mode of expansion. Let's try this. Let's reach out to this wholesaler and let's try this. Why haven't we done that before? And I fall on my face all the time, all the time. But what has changed is the certainty that I have. I have 100% certainty that I will be $1 million seller. You can go ahead and mark my words. This is going to be $1 million business for me. And I don't question that. And now I also have figured out that if I want to be $1 million seller, I know how to get there exactly. So what I learned is if you'll back into your sales goal. So I want to be selling $84,000 a month. That's going to put me $1 million in sales. Well, right now I'm spending X to get $30,000 in sales. So if I want to sell 3 times that, I need to be spending 3 times what I'm spending now, right? So now I really only have 2 obstacles. My first obstacle is, do I have enough capital to be spending 3 times that? If I don't, then I need to go to work trying to figure out how to get more capital. And my second obstacle is, do I have the avenues, do I have the products to be buying to spend 3 times as much? And so really I only have 2 things to work on. And once I get to the point where I'm spending X dollars, assuming I've done it intelligently, then I'm at $83,000, $84,000 a month in sales. So I know exactly what my numbers are. I know exactly how much I need to be spending, and I'm not there yet, but I will be. So my suggestion is, if anybody out there is like, oh, well, I really want to get to 30K in sales, figure out what you're spending now and what you're selling, and then just do the math to figure out, okay, how much exactly do I need to be buying? Because you can't control your sales. You're not in control of your sales whatsoever, but you can control what you buy. You can control the dollar amount, you can control the monthly, how much exactly, and then the sales will come.
That was my biggest realization in the early days, where I'm like, okay, I kind of had this thing figured out, but I want to scale, I want to do more. What does that mean? And everybody around me was setting goals for sales. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, can you really control that? No. But can you more control how much you spend? Yeah. You at least have more influence over it, right? So the goal shifts from I need to do X number a month in sales. That's the outcome. But the goal to get you to yield that outcome is how much you spend. And I like that you have the clarity now because you don't have two major tasks of more money, which is a whole other ball game. And so when you say, like you did earlier, am I needed in my business? Now you are, because, and I've said this so many times, you shift at some point from figuring out how to source to you got that covered. You're good and you can teach it to somebody else. You move forward. Now the issue is more capital. So now you got to go learn how to raise money. That could be different things. It could just be a simple SBA loan, private money, whatever, right? It depends. So now that becomes your day-to-day task, right? How do you raise money? But the second one that you have is we need to be able to have enough inventory to purchase. Okay, well, let's think about that. How are we currently getting inventory? Okay, can we hire somebody 10, 20 hours a week and start testing the waters of having them do more of that? Can we scale out the current process, the systems, with people, with technology, whatever it happens to be, and make that, it's an easier thing, right? It's less of a daunting task, this huge mountain you have to climb, because you're like, no, we need two things. We need more product, which obviously is always on somebody's mind, but you know how to do that now. You just need to do more of it. And where do we get money? Luckily, it's 2019. We haven't hit a recession yet, so raising money is not terribly difficult, which is good. But you have the blueprint. I mean, you have the machine that is working. Now it's let's put more fuel into it to get more horsepower out the other end. And that's a cool place. Not many sellers get there. So outside of even the whole $1 million seller thing, because I love that, just realizing that you got to this place is super cool, because a lot of sellers are still struggling, or they just can't quite get to that point, but they can. It's viewing things from a different perspective. Like you said, it's being adaptable and flexible at these hurdles that you get thrown, because you're going to get thrown them. You're going to lose some money. Sorry. Whenever the way I view product is an investment. With risk or with reward comes risk, right? So accept that. It's okay. Just keep moving forward. But once you got that stuff figured out, now it's doing more of it. Like that's just simple, not easy, right? I say this all the time. And it's cool to see you go through all these different phases of, great, I got here, what's next? And I like seeing your brain kind of churn that through and think through it and be like, okay, how do we get here now? We got this figured out. It's like you're building a real business. That's what gets me super excited and geeking out. But I like how you approach things. I like how you come from a value standpoint, but you do that from so many different angles. I've seen you do it with me even, and even with your employees, the people that work with you, you add tons of value. And yeah, you're doing everything right. It's great. Like, it's so cool. Like, I mean, seriously, take notes on everything we're talking about here, because there's so much packed into here that a lot of people just don't seem to have access to. What were some big, I don't want to say churning points, but catalysts, whether that's books, whether that's movies, things that got you to see things differently? So
I've always been a reader, but I'm not a physical book reader. So I am an Audible subscriber. The 4-Hour Work Week was a big one for me. Also the book, we had talked about the book called Profit First.
Yeah.
That was another really important one. And then I follow Amy. She's there's a Facebook group called Amazing at Home. I think you did a.
Yeah, Amy was on our first 10 episodes. Amy Weiss, fantastic episode on listing optimization. Yeah, she went in depth.
You need to listen to that.
Yeah, Amy is super cool.
Join that Facebook group, Amazing at Home, because I've learned so much about, not just about listing optimization, that that's her real strong suit. But even about PPC, she taught me how to do giveaways. I didn't even know. Did you know that you can do a giveaway where you give away 5 items, but in order to get those 5 items, you have to people have to click on this like bouncing box. Do you know about this?
No, this is great.
You turn this all on to me. It's called Amazon giveaways. You can just Google Amazon giveaways, where what you do is you create a coupon code for, let's say, 20% off your product, and people click on it. And if they click in the box, on the bouncing box, and they have a 1 in 1,000 chance of winning the free that you're about to give away. Well, for every one that you give away, 999 people get the coupon code that you set up. So you've now given out 1,000 coupon codes for 20% off of your product. And for each one that you do, so I always give away 5, and then you give out literally 5,000 coupon codes for 20% off of your product. And I didn't know that, and Amy taught me that. I did that, and my sales did really well. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But you don't know this stuff if you're not following these. So Shawn Michael has been so crucial, so crucial. Amazon FBA Rockstars is his Facebook group. If you're not in there, you have to be in there. And really just asking the questions to these groups, because people are so helpful. They want to help you, but they don't know what your challenges are right now. I mean, in that Amazing at Home group, they're literally posting 2-3 times a week. So what hurdles do you have right now? What struggles are you going through?
Yeah.
You post a quick question on there, it's answered by somebody in the group within 10 minutes. It's insane. So those were my big ones. And of course, I don't need to, kiss your butt at all, but you have taught me how to do wholesale. I mean, I took your blueprint and just did it. I didn't make anything up. I just did it. I just put in the calls. And when I first spoke with you, when I first saw your video, I had called 4 wholesale suppliers and they all said no. I was like, okay, well, yeah, that was fun. I guess it worked for some people, not for me. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
You're calling today. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And when I started doing it, Dylan, it just worked. I still got a lot of people say no.
And what's crazy is none of this that you're talking about, we charge for. Like every week we do live sourcings in our Facebook group. We don't charge for anything. So everybody in the group has had the same amount of access to content. And what you've done is you've taken that content and you've ran with it. You've iterated, you've made it better. And that's, in my opinion, the big difference there of why you're being interviewed right now versus somebody else. I wish more people would do it.
Right. For anybody that's listening that doesn't know what information I'm talking about, the Facebook group is Amazon FBA Wholesale. It has everything you'll need to know about learning wholesale. It's incredible.
Yeah. And the link for that is vindrive.com/group. So you can get auto redirected there. Our blog, even if you want everything revolving pretty much around a wholesale business, just read the blog start to finish. I pretty much laid everything out. It's not fluffy.
There are courses out there, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and this is all free. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. Jenna, what's next? So you want to get to 1 million. What's the time frame? What's on your next? What's for 2019 mechanics action items? What are you planning right now?
So right now, I'm leveraged pretty highly right now. So what I'm doing is I'm taking half of my profits and paying down debt, and half of my profits and reinvesting into new products. So I know that I'm going to grow at a slower pace by doing that, but I do want to eventually get to where I am just cash flowing this. I will still use credit cards, but I'll just pay them off as I use them just to get the points. So that's my next goal. So right now, my next hurdle is I would like to get to 50K per month consistently by the end of August. So You can go ahead and hold me to that one.
I like it.
I think it's feasible. I think I could get there faster if I wanted to take out more and more and more debt, but I'm growing my debt slowly.
Yeah. And I think that's being more strategic and playing chess over checkers. I think there's a clear value add for using leverage or debt, but in the right way. Right. So all your test orders is going to cash until you have some consistency with those SKUs, and then you can start leveraging debt, obviously assuming the numbers make sense. But yeah, it's a huge growth lever that more people really should look into how to use mechanically, because there's so much value to it in using leverage. But I feel like a lot of people do use it, including myself even, use it too early because they're trying to scale something they don't fully understand or know how to do. It's like, I don't know how to source products, but I just raised 50 grand. It's like, okay, don't do that. Get it working at like 2 grand a month and then scale it. That's awesome. Jenna, I'm so proud and excited for you, like watching you go through all this stuff. I like the phone calls I get when you're like, I just pick up and like, hey, you're like, Dylan. And it's cool because it's going to go one of two ways. It's either something new or just like, holy crap, what just happened? I got to just tell somebody. And it's been really cool. But it has come down to you putting in the work, being adaptable, and making it happen. So if you guys want to learn from Jenna, jump in our Facebook group. She's in there. Listen to the first episode that we did, because that was like the first Facebook Live.
I'm just a little Amazon baby.
Right? Now you're growing. You got that car? Get your driver's license now?
I'm like a 10-year-old. I'm like a 10-year-old. So far to go. Isn't
it funny how you get to a certain level and people are like, man, you're at that level now? It's like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know how. Like, does that resonate at all with you? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, when I see the 8-figure, the over $10 million a year sellers, I realize like, we're nothing. This is nothing. Like, this isn't. It's exciting to see, but yeah. I'll tell you the other thing that's exciting is I have employees now that this business is impacting their life. I have employees that are paying off debt. One of my employees is young, and she's just getting her driver's license, and she's using this money to save up and buy a car. And now she's going to have the freedom. Like, I remember when I got my first car, and now I got one of my other employees that is really able to save money now, and she's never really saved money. And it's like the business has a purpose now. It has a mission. And
yeah, it's more than just a side hustle or selling products on the side.
Yeah, it's not just about me anymore. It's about me.
Yeah, that's when it gets cool. That's when it's fun. That purpose comes in. You start having that driver every morning. Yeah, it's an enabling feeling for sure. It's a little humbling, definitely. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Dylan. You have a great day.
You too. Before we leave, I have a huge ask. If you enjoyed this podcast and you got value from it, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. The way we're able to have more impact on more sellers is by getting in front of them. We can do that by having more reviews and getting pushed to the top of iTunes podcasts. So leave us a review and let us know what you think of the podcast.